It's the Saturday 5:30 game from Wembley. It's Manchester United versus Crystal Palace. The FA Cup final preview coming up next. Welcome along everyone, it's good to see you all. Thanks for joining us. It's just Andy from the Red Devil Chronicle with you this week. Just doing a quick FA Cup final preview, just to keep you going. News is from Joe, is that we should be back in the studio hopefully next week, in which case we will then be able to do our end of season preview and talk to you about what's coming up over the summer. Should be an exciting one. First of all then, might as well get started. Repeat on the FA Cup final of 1990. Of course, Manchester United faced Crystal Palace again at Wembley. Now, it was the game that saved Sir Alex Ferguson's job. First of many trophies he won for the club, of course, and there have been some comparisons therefore drawn. An opportunity 26 years on to win our first major trophy since Ferguson left, of course, and a few think that a win could save Louis van Gaal his job. And this is where I'd like to start. It's a really interesting situation and completely different from the Sir Alex Ferguson one, so I'm not really sure where the comparisons are being drawn up here. But with Sir Alex Ferguson, there was a future there. There was a dynasty to be built. It wasn't just a case of let's keep him, let's give him the job now and see how it works for the next season. It felt like there was something else there. Obviously a proven track record, albeit up in Scotland. He had some pedigree there and he was still young. He had time on his side and that's why it differs greatly. Even if Louis van Gaal wins the FA Cup and kept his job, he's going at the end of the next season anyway. And that's if he gets what he wants. So it's hardly allowing someone to come in and stay, based on building up that dynasty, based on building up something great at Manchester United again. It will not happen whether he wins the FA Cup or not, and therefore I can't understand why winning the FA Cup would allow him to keep his job. I understand why the board haven't sacked him as yet. I can get that. I know a lot of people have been complaining now that top four, of course, has gone and we aren't in the Champions League next season. A lot of people are saying, well, why is this not the time then to get rid? Very simply because he did get us to the FA Cup final and, therefore he deserves his shot to try and win it. And if he does win it for his own arrogance and his own ego, he'll count that as a success. And that's fine if he wants to do so. He put us into that position. Let's let him win the cup if he wants to do so. Go out on what he will consider a high. That's the way we've got to hope he's thinking anyway, and that would then allow us to move on. But that's why I can't get my head round it. With Sir Alex Ferguson, as I say, there was time on his side. Louis van Gaal is going to be gone anyway, so let's just get rid now. Let's just let him win the FA Cup and move on, and let's try and build something going forward. What I will say, in terms of a positive though, is that I've always had the theory that the sooner Manchester United win a trophy, the sooner the club can move away and move on from the Sir Alex Ferguson days. Not that we shouldn't ever reflect back on what Sir Alex Ferguson did for the club, of course. The success that he brought the club, incredible. There aren't any words really for it. And rightly deserves to be brought up. And it's something that United fans should remember forever. It's ingrained now within the great history of the club. At the same time, we do not want to become a club like Liverpool, just purely living off the past glory and through history. And so, with the constant comparisons that you see drawn up between our current squad and what Sir Alex Ferguson achieved, which is understandable, I think the best way to move on is to win a cup, really, or a trophy of any description, a major trophy. Because the way that this has impacted the squad, having these comparisons drawn up, has shown us that firstly, we need more players with strength of character to deal with those comparisons and use them to achieve and be inspired by them. But secondly, because we don't have enough of those players currently, winning a trophy may release some of the pressure from them. It might let them focus purely on their game, which is what they need to do. Be more reliant on instinct. I think there's a lot in that team at the moment when you look around the Manchester United squad that are playing with a lot of pressure on their shoulders, and they should be. It's one of the biggest clubs in the world, but I think if you win a trophy, suddenly there's a bit of success around the club, there's a good feeling, there's a good vibe, a little bit of the pressure perhaps ebbs away, and maybe we'll just focus more on playing football the right way again, which in return will then hopefully bring more trophies in the future. That's always been the theory that I've had, so I don't know what your feelings are on that. Please do let us know, but my theory was win a trophy. I think we can then move on and start to rebuild a new generation at Manchester United. That's my hope anyway. How the two teams made it is what I'm going to move on to next. Let's have a look at the run-in that got the two clubs to Wembley for the second time. We've discussed before the farce that the semi-finals are played at Wembley. But if we look at how Crystal Palace made it, first of all, they certainly went down the path less trodden, that's for sure. Crystal Palace beat Southampton away 2-1, Stoke at home 1-0, Spurs away 1-0, Reading away 2-0, and Watford at Wembley in the semi-final 2-1, scoring 8 goals in their 5 games, conceding just 2. So they've been brilliant. How that compares to our cup run, well, we all remember the 1-0 win against Sheffield United, of course for the wrong reasons, don't we? There was the Derby away game, we won 3-1. Shrewsbury away 3-0, very comfortable. West Ham was 1-1 at Old Trafford, and of course 2-1 in the away game in the repeat. And Everton at Wembley, we beat 2-1 thanks to that brilliant goal by Anthony Martial yet again. 12 scored by United in our 6 games on the run-up to the final, 4 conceded. And so the FA Cup has proved, therefore, a route of escapism from poor seasons for both clubs to a degree. Certainly more so for Palace, who, of course, were in the Champions League places at one stage early doors in the season and finished 16th in the league. Went on a really poor run towards the end of the season, nearly got sucked into the relegation battle as well, just about managed to steer clear. But, of course, we all know with finals, and Jurgen Klopp will vouch for this one, that form and finishes go out the window on a day like this one, and that we'll experience on Saturday. So where do we need to be most wary for the game against Crystal Palace? On the wings is probably the place to start and probably the main place to focus on. Wilfried Zaha, it's believed, will be fit and ready to prove, of course, doubters from his former club wrong. He has had a bit of a knock. He was rested against Southampton, but supposedly due fit for the game, so that'll be a threat. Of course, from the other wing, Yannick Bolasie will probably be starting. He'll be looking to put in a really good performance on the big stage, which he's capable of doing on his day. And of course, he's going to be looking to put a really patchy season behind him. Now, we have looked particularly vulnerable in our wing-back positions, which makes me think even more so that we are going to struggle against Palace's wingers. And these two could certainly cause us some serious harm on Saturday. Of course, on top of that, they've also got Connor Wickham, who has got a goal in him. He's been past fit. A very strong player, of course, as well, so he should give Daley Blind a tough task if he can put himself on him. Blind will have to be very reliant again on his reading of the game and cutting out potential crosses put in towards Wickham. Or Adebayor, of course, later in the game, or if Adebayor does get the nod to start. Both very strong players, both good aerially, so there is a potential challenge in that if we are letting the likes of Zaha and Bolasie in behind us. How do we then line up to beat Crystal Palace? What would Manchester United need to do to win? Well, if I'm Louis van Gaal, I'm going to go with this lineup, and I'll explain why in a moment. My 11 would be, of course, De Gea in goal. Back four of Valencia, Smalling, Blind and Borthwick-Jackson. Midfield 2 of Schneiderlin and Rooney. 3 behind the 1 going Young, Mata and Martial from right to left. And Rashford, of course, up front. Now, the notable mentions. Antonio Valencia, probably won't be a popular shout on this one. A liability at times, certainly. Can't pass with his left foot. Big issue. But solid. Last time out, of course, against Bournemouth. It wasn't a particularly tough game, shall we say, for the back four on the whole. But I thought Valencia played really well in the game. So let's keep that going. Of course, Darmian's got a slight injury, so shouldn't be risked, I don't think. And of course, we've seen what's happened to him before when he's played against pace on the wings. And I'm not convinced that Fosu Mensah's a right back at all, so I think it could be only detrimental to put him under pressure out of position against Palace's wingers. Not same reason, but I'd also leave Varela out of this one purely because of lack of game time recently. I think this would be a real pressure cooker to throw him in at the deep end of, so that's why I would go with Valencia at right back. In terms of left back, Borthwick Jackson, possibly a little bit of a surprise call, but Rojo's got a bit of a knock. and has been absolutely dreadful as he can't pass a ball for 5 yards, so he shouldn't be in the squad anyway, even if he is fit. Of course, we're still without Luke Shaw, unfortunately, so that leaves our options really with Borthwick Jackson. I think he deserves to keep his place as well, and we all know his danger going forward. He's an excellent crosser of the ball if people are willing to gamble. Hint, hint from the Bournemouth game. Ashley Young, probably the other notable mention. He came on and scored against Bournemouth, put up front for some reason. I'm not suggesting we do that at all against Crystal Palace. Let's use him where he should be and play him from the right. I think he's our best option down the right wing at the moment. Not sold at all on Jesse Lingard, as I think a lot of Manchester United fans are fast becoming aware of. I mean, I've had an issue with Jesse Lingard for a number of months, as I've mentioned on the channel now, and I just don't think he's going to make the cut. He's not like he's still a kid. He needs to be developing and showing signs of improvement, more assists, more in the way of chance creation, more than just using pace. Needs to chip in with a few more goals, which a lot of players do, as I've said when I've discussed Lingard. But I just don't think he's the man going forward. And I think Ashley Young, plenty of experience, a very decent player, underrated, I think, by a lot of Manchester United fans. But I think he should be given a chance. So he would go on the right for me. Score prediction then, to end the FA Cup final preview from us. I'm going 2-1 to Manchester United. I think we're always susceptible to conceding a goal. I think we will do. But I do think we've got the firepower, mainly through Martial and Rashford, to come out on top in the game. Let's hope I haven't set my expectations too high. I'm sure Louis van Gaal will let us know. But will Manchester United win the FA Cup? And would that warrant an extended stay for Louis van Gaal, or is the writing already on the wall? Let's just hope for a trophy come Saturday night. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.